Welcome back. It's the Flow Friday Sports Show on Flow FM. Pat Brown is on the line with me to talk all things River Murray Netball after another big weekend. Hello, Pat. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Dan. And you?
Very well, thank you. Let's get into the round two action. There were some cracking games in round two. The first one catching my eye is the tight one between Tailem Bend and the Coorong Cats. The Cats coming very close to a rare victory, going down 47-41. Looked like a cracker.
Yes, it was. Both teams worked really hard in possession with the ball to get it down into their goal circles and score, but Tailem managed to convert some of the Cats' mistakes, which gave them the edge at quarter time, and they were able to hang on through defensive pressure across the centre court to maintain that lead. Although the Cats came back in the third quarter to be equal at three-quarter time, Tailem definitely wanted the win after their first round loss. So once they scored the first goal, that managed to give them that little bit of edge to counter-attack the Cats. But it was a really, really good game, and 6 goals, nothing to be ashamed of.
Good win for Tailem Bend and an honourable loss for the Cats. Not everyone loves honourable losses, but I think it needs to be said nevertheless.
Well, 2 games they've had so far, they've lost by less than 10, so doesn't take much to turn it round.
That's right. Promising signs for the Cats, so we'll keep an eye on them moving forward. A couple more games that have caught my eye, but before we get to those ones, let's talk about the Imps and Jervois, because it was an easy win for the Imperials, 58-24.
Yeah, Jervois would have been hoping they could have maintained the pressure they put on Maipo the week before, but once you give Imps an inroad, they don't back off. Once they knew they'd doubled Jervois' score at quarter time, their strong combination of players across the court would have just maintained that pressure throughout the whole game. And I know Tessa Thurston, the coach for Jervois, tried moving her young players around a bit, but once Imps are on a roll, they're very hard to come back, and they did run away with a 34-goal win.
Imps, the only... they're not the only undefeated team, but they're the only undefeated team that have played 2 games. Mallee Storm and Ramblers also undefeated, but just the 1 game. So of everyone that's played 2, other than the Imps, everyone's had at least the 1 loss. So they've already separated themselves early on top of the ladder. To our next game, there were a couple of interesting results here. The Southern Suns, bit of an upset over Maipo at Maipo, 55-40.
Yes, that was it was the Anzac game, so it was a special game for both sides. The Tigers tried strong defensive play, but the Suns were just too strong through defensive pressure across all playing positions. And they won every quarter, so that gave them the chance to build and consolidate that win. And Maipo's young players would have tried hard and would have learned a bit from the game. And so they might be a bit different next time round. But, yeah, I think the Suns had a point to prove, and they proved their point.
So Maipo and the Southern Suns both go to 1-1 on the season. And in the final game, it was the Mallee Storm over Mannum, 60-44. So Mallee Storm's first game for the year, and an interesting result here. A couple of the teams that were near the top last season.
Mannum would have been confident after winning the first round, and they would have thought this would have been a second one. However, they came up a very strong, confident Storm competing in their first game, and that gave the Storm players the eagerness to hit the court and run with it, and that's exactly what they did. Their goal shooter, Tennille Gray, shot with extreme accuracy. That only built her players' confidence, and they were up at three-quarter time quite convincingly. But then they had an 18-goal to 7-goal final quarter, and that sealed the game for Storm. So they're certainly not afraid of running out the game.
All right, so that is the round 2 action. It was a good round, and it was, of course, the Ramblers on the bye. And like I said, that takes the Imperials to the top of the ladder at 2-0, the only team to be 2-0. Let's look forward to the round 3 action. Plenty of great games on this weekend, and we're going to start with one that on this program last year, Hannah Loller dubbed it the Weather Event Cup, I believe. It is the Southern Suns taking on the Mallee Storm. Always love this matchup. Who do you think will win this one?
I'm going to go with the Storm, but I reckon it's going to be a very hard-fought game. Both clubs have a lot of pride, and the Suns would be feeling confident after beating the Tigers last week. The Storm had a tougher game against Mannum, So I think that'll just give them the edge for this week. So I'm going to go with the Storm, but I reckon it'll be a hell of a game.
Should be a very good game. Both teams in pretty good form to start the season, and
yes, very much so.
Had pretty good seasons last year as well. So that will be a really good game. And just out of curiosity, Pat, bit of a rivalry game there. Is there one rivalry in this association that stands out above the rest, in your opinion?
Well, normally it would be Maipolonga versus Imperials. That's been a long-standing rivalry for years. But due to the changes with Maipolonga, that's not going to be there this year. So I reckon the rivalry this year might be Imps and Storm.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one when we get around to it.
That game's going to be a good one.
All right, fantastic stuff. Well, let's get on to our next game for the coming weekend. It's happening at Tintinara. It is the Coorong Cats taking on Maipolonga.
Yeah, so the Cats are hosting Tigers this week. But Tigers would have worked on the things that didn't work last week. So they'll want to come back, and they'll want to come back strong. But the Cats have had two very close games so far this year. So they'll want this game, and because of the Jervois Maipo closeness of that game, the Cats will think that there's not much for them to do to be able to maybe take this win. So I think the Tigers will struggle a little bit, but I think the experience will be a little bit too much for the Cats, but I think it's going to be a third close game for the Cats.
Yeah, it would have been an easy tip for Maipo last year, the big Cats overcoming the regular Cats. But, different story this year. The script has flipped a little bit for both of those teams, so that'll be an interesting one to play out. The Ramblers coming off the bye, taking on Tailem Bend. This one should be interesting as well. Yeah,
this is the most important game of the round, not just because it should be a good game of netball played by two very confident teams, but this is the highlight of match of the week because it's the first live feed coverage within the River Murray Netball Association. So the two long-standing clubs have this honour of being setting history by making it that we're the first two. But I think there'll be a few nerves here, and not just with the players, but with the coaches and umpires as well. I mean, I can imagine being a shooter there saying, please, 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 make sure the ball goes through the ring on my first shot, you know. And defenders will be worried about giving away penalties, and umpires will hope that they're clear and concise and confident, and coaches will be hoping that they select the very best combinations. My best advice I can give to all of them is to breathe and be strong in what makes them the best that they can be, and ignore the rest and enjoy the right to say, we were the first live feed game. Ramblers have only had the one game so far this season with the bye last week, and Tailem a win and a loss. This game should be good, but I think the Ramblers have a bit more confidence in their play and their ball handling skills, and I believe that Ramblers will take out the win, but make no mistakes, there's going to be nerves on the court.
All right, maybe some added nerves with the live feed going.
Oh, yes, I would say there's going to be some added nerves with the live feed, definitely.
Absolutely. And where can people go to tune into that live feed if they're interested?
Look, I'm really sorry, Dan. I can't even tell you that. That little piece of information I can't give you. I mean, they could get in touch with the RMFL. They'll probably be able to tell them, but I honestly am myself not too sure. I mean, this was only thrown at me not long ago.
All right,
sorry, Dane.
That's all right.
I'm going to disappoint you on that one.
We'll put a pin in that for now. We'll circle back to that next week or perhaps the week after. In the meantime, one more game to quickly get through. Mannum taking on the Imperials, couple of the powerhouses from last year, and Mannum will be trying on their home court to give the Imperials their first loss for 2024.
Yeah. I've called this one the game of the round physically. Both teams have fought hard battles over the years, with Imps being the winner more often than not, and this game will be no different. Mannum will be looking to bounce back from last week's loss, but this early in the season, Imperials are far more settled side. And although the Roos will fight hard to control the ball throughout the quarters, it's hard to see the Blues letting this one go. They'll want to go 3-0, but it'll be a physical, strong, tough battle by both sides.
All right, the tip is in for the Imperials to wrap up the round 3 action. Pat, enjoy all the netball this weekend, and we'll speak again next Friday. Have a good one.
No worries. Thanks, Dan.